Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be walking you through the process of building these stunning epoxy resin and local oak wood charcuterie boards that I made for my mom and my mother-in-law for Christmas this year. It's the first time I've ever done this and I really love the way they came out. It's a step-by-step journey that starts with creating the mold and finishes with these beautifully functional pieces, so let's dive right in. First things first, I need to get the mold prepared. I used melamine for this as it's smooth and it's easy to work with. This will create the perfect foundation for the resin to pour into later. I started by ripping 4 2-inch width pieces on my table saw, and these will be used for the edging around the mold. Next up, I take those pieces of oak that I had picked out for these boards and ran them all through the planer. I wanted to get that perfect consistent thickness all the way through, ensuring that we aren't wasting any resin as it is really expensive. And a quick note about selecting your wood, make sure to select pieces with lots of natural voids in them so there's plenty of areas for the resin to fill into. And once I had these planed down to size, I laid them out dry on a sheet of melamine to determine exactly where I wanted them and how I wanted them laid out prior to pouring the resin. And once I was happy with their placement, I traced them in place with a pencil and then I cut the melamine to the appropriate size. All right, so now I'm just taking all of those 2-inch edge pieces that we cut earlier and literally just gluing them down to my base melamine board with a clear silicone. And this is one of those steps where you don't want to skimp on the silicone. Make sure you get a nice, even, consistent bead down the whole length of your edge boards, because this is going to ensure that your epoxy resin does not leak out at all. And once you get those glued down, go ahead and use another bead of silicone along the entire inside edge and all those corners, because you do not want an active leak once you just mixed up all that super expensive epoxy. One extra step that I had to take with this particular cut of oak was to get a pick and to remove a ton of rotten wormwood. The beetles had really done a number on this oak tree, but I'm not complaining because it made for a really cool contrast between the blue and the oak in the end, you'll see. But all these little sections of wormwood that I was able to pick out took on a bunch of blue epoxy and just really gave this thing a ton of pop and a bunch of contrast. It ended up looking really cool. So I'm really glad I took the time to remove all of these rotten voids of wood. It really paid off in the end. Now for the fun part, mixing and pouring the epoxy resin. I made sure to follow the precise measurements on the bottle of this 2-to-1 deep pour epoxy to get the best clarity and durability. You don't want to undermix this stuff, because if you do, as you're going to see in one of my next builds that I post on here, you can have some issues with the epoxy not curing properly. So make sure to follow the instructions on how to mix it very precisely. All right, now that the epoxy's mixed, it's time to pour the resin into the mold. Now, you're going to be careful to make sure you fill in all the voids in the wood where you want epoxy. You can't just dump it into the mold and hope that it's going to soak from the bottom up. That's not always the case, so make sure you pour your epoxy into the voids from the top down. You're also going to want to grab a 10-pound weight or some clamps to secure the wood down into the mold, because if you don't, it will float in the epoxy. So make sure you use something to secure it down. I've seen some other videos where they use glue or silicone to secure the wood down to the mold that way. I did not do that, so it started floating on me, so I just grabbed a 10-pound weight from my little home gym and some chunks of scrap melamine and set it on top of the piece of wood to secure it down. Once the resin's poured, this step takes a lot of time. You're gonna have to let it cure for a full 7 days, but it's totally worth it. If you don't let it cure for long enough, you might have issues with the resin trying to bend or break as you remove it from the mold. So be sure to let it cure for at least a full week in the proper temperatures according to the bottle. Once everything's fully cured, you're going to have to use some muscle and some wedges and some hammers to break the melamine away from the board. That part's pretty tough. I didn't film it, but trust me, it can be quite the struggle. But now that I got it out of the mold, it's time to run it through the planer to achieve the perfect thickness and make sure that, you know, when it's time to put the feet and the handles on, we have a perfectly flat, perfectly smooth board. Also want to take a minute and acknowledge that I have since learned how toxic epoxy is. And while you're mixing it, pouring it, and planing it and sanding it, you really need to be wearing a respirator and gloves so that you're not exposing your lungs and your skin to this material. And also make note that it makes a huge mess when you're planing it. You really need to have some kind of recovery system like a shop vac or a massive tarp to catch all your shavings and sawdust while you're planing it. All right, now that we've planed it and achieved the thickness that we want, it's time to make sure all the edges are cleaned up and squared up. So that's what I'm doing here, just taking a framing square and marking out a fresh edge that I can cut with my skill saw and ensure that the edges are perfectly square and sharp. All right, now that the board is squared up, it's time to sand it. And this is when the board really starts to come to life. It might be an arduous process and take a long time, but this is when it really starts to come to life. So I started with 80 grit, worked my way all the way up to 1000 grit, making sure to wipe down the board with a wet microfiber and some alcohol in between each of the grits. Now, the reason I ended up sanding all the way up to 1000 grit is because my original plan was to finish this off with Odie's oil. But as you'll learn in the next clip, I did not end up using Odie's oil to finish it. I ended up using tabletop epoxy. And it doesn't seem necessary to sand really anything beyond 220 grit when you're finishing with tabletop epoxy, because it's going to fill in all the imperfections on its own and give you an amazing finish. So if you plan on using tabletop epoxy, you should only have to sand up to 220 grit. If you want to seal it with Odie's oil, then you sand until whatever level of sheen you desire. If you sand all the way up to 1000 grit, it's gonna be extremely glossy before you even put the Odie's oil on. Okay, so now that I was happy with the sanding, it was time to apply the Odie's oil to the surface, hoping to get that perfect finish. But as I mentioned before, after looking at it, I just wasn't completely happy with the result. So what do you know, I ended up sanding it all off again so that I could later pour tabletop epoxy. I mean, it looked really good. I really did like it. And it is quite difficult to apply tabletop epoxy once you apply an oil-based finish like this, but if you sand it enough, you can get it down to the point where the tabletop epoxy will stick to it. But yeah, it looked beautiful, as you can see here, but I really just wasn't entirely happy with it. So I ended up going with a more durable finish, which ended up being the tabletop epoxy. All right, I'm not going to make you guys watch me sand these boards down again, so just trust me on, I sanded them down again to 220 grit and prepared them for tabletop epoxy. I had to remove all that Odie's oil to get them to this point, so I had to sand them pretty aggressively to get them back to this stage. And I know you haven't seen the orange board yet at all in this video, but it was tracking right along with the blue board. I just didn't film any of it, and it's the same exact process except for I used a copper mica pigment in my resin instead of blue. And I want to point out my next mistake, and that was installing these handles prior to doing my flood coat of tabletop epoxy. My thought process behind installing the handles first was I was thinking I'm going to put the handles on first and flood up to them, essentially Loctiting them in place and water sealing them in place so that no water or food could ever get trapped between the handle and the board and potentially rot and cause mold. So it did end up working out that way. I was able to push the tabletop epoxy right up to the brass feet of these handles, but it made it extremely difficult to spread the epoxy out evenly everywhere. So I didn't realize how thick tabletop epoxy was. I thought that it would kind of self-flood, but it really doesn't move anywhere until you physically move it with your hands. So you really have to push it around everywhere that you want it to go. And having the handles in place made that really difficult, and because it made it hard to spread it out evenly without getting it on the handles. I ended up getting it done, just the handles made it much more difficult. So I would highly recommend just sealing the board with your tabletop epoxy first, and then drilling your holes and installing your handles second. All right, it's not shown here, but I want to note that I did the same thing to the bottom to completely seal it in from water. And I also poured it over the countersunk screws from the bottom to make sure that those screws will never move and the handles will never become loose. And here it is, my 2 completed epoxy resin and local Southern California oak charcuterie boards. The first time I've ever done a epoxy resin and wood charcuterie board. I'm really happy with how they come out. They're beautiful, one-of-a-kind pieces that are as functional as they are striking. My mom and my mother-in-law both ended up loving them. It's just something about a homemade gift that you pour your heart and soul into that just means so much more than just buying some $50 piece of junk off of Temu or Amazon. So I highly, highly, highly encourage you to jump in and try and make one of these for your mom or one of your loved ones for one of these upcoming holidays or birthdays, something like that. And just don't even worry about it. Don't be scared. Just dive in head first like I do on everything. Thank you so much for joining me on this build. If you enjoyed the process, don't forget to like and subscribe for more DIY projects like this, and we'll see you on the next video.